Oh, by the way, everybody's allowed to, if you haven't been shaving, you could shave this Friday.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I'm just letting you know, because it's Erev Shabbos. Or
and you can get a haircut too.
All right. Good morning.
Sorry, I cut off.
Yeah, he said he can get a haircut too. Rosh Chodesh, Erev Shabbos.
Rabbi Matanki has a 3-minute halacha on it on the website.
Maybe I'll shave my head again. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So we are on Memches Amar Aleph. So Rabba v'Rab Zera. We're 2 lines in the top. Fry, where you at? All right. So 2 lines from the top. So we're discussing. We just had the new parak of Metaynim. We're talking about things that add heat, right? You can't use something that adds heat. And we were discussing a case of adding heat, whether it's from olives or the sediment from olives or from sesame. So now 2 lines on the top. Rabba Rab Zera iklo lebei reish galusa chazia lahu avda de anach kuza demaya apuma de kumkuma. So Rabba and Rab Zera were at the house of the reish galusa of the exilarch, and he saw a certain servant, a certain eved, that he went ahead and he put a cold, right, like a cold jug of water on top of the, on the lip, on top of a kumkum, right? Kumkum is a heated kettle, right? A heated pot of water. So Nazieh Rabba. So Rabba got upset with him, right? He got upset with him, right? He was, I think Rashi says, was a garbo, I think, I saw last night, right? So he became upset with him. Can't find it. Oh, there it is, yeah. So he came upset with him. So Amalei Rab Zera Maish. So he says, Rab Zera trying to figure out why he was so upset. Why can't you put, right, a cold thing of water, right, a cold jug of water on top of a hot kettle, right? What's the difference? Why when you can put one kettle on top of another kettle? Amalei Hasam Ukme Kamukim. Over there, when you go ahead and you put one on top of the other, they're both hot, so you're maintaining the heat, right? You're maintaining the heat. However, Hacha Ulidu Kalmelid. But over here, right, you're you're instilling new heat inside the new cold. So since you're using it to go ahead and heat up the cold water, obviously no one will get to Yatzaleta's boat. Nevertheless, that was the reason why that was different. Now, Hadar Chazil the Paris the studer Apume de Kuba Anach Natla Aloyo. So then, furthermore, so the Rabbi and Rab Zera were there, and he saw the Eved over there, right? He saw the Eved. He saw him put he spread a what's it called? A turban, right? A turban on top of the opening of a hot, of some sort of, pitcher. And then he put a ladle on top of it in order to hold it on. And Nazi Rabba, once again, Rabba became upset that he went ahead and took a turban and used it to cover the liquids. So Amalei Rab Zera, once again, Rab Zera said to Rabba, why are you upset? So Amalei, Hashta Chazis, still going to see soon. The Saif, in the end, Chazi to come at Sarle, Ma'atzerle. So in the end, he saw that he was Ma'atzeret, right? He basically, the Eved went ahead, some say he didn't do it, some say, right? He went ahead to go ahead and squeeze out, right? Because it was covering the liquid, it became soaked, the turban, and he went ahead to go ahead and extract, squeeze out the liquids, and therefore that is the malach of schita. So since he came to do schita, he knew he was. So Rabba anticipated that he was going to do schita, so therefore he became upset. So what's the difference between this and when you're allowed to use a rag to go ahead and put inside, let's say put inside a barrel, right, to plug up the hole. You're allowed to do that on Shabbos, right, or Yantif. So why is this any different? If you have the plug, obviously you can't continue to push it in because then you're doing schita, but you're allowed to go ahead and have it basically hold the plug. So why is that any different than this turban here? Oh, but it's different. In the case of the rag, a person doesn't need the rag. He doesn't care about the rag. But over here, when it comes to a turban, then a turban is something that a person cares about the quality of, and therefore the person might go ahead and wring out the liquids that's inside, and therefore he'll become upset with it. And then upset that it's wet, and then to go ahead and perform schita, which is a malacha. Fine, 2 dots. And then it says v'loy b'tevin. So our Mishnah says you're not allowed to do hatmana, right? You can't go ahead and insulate with one of the materials was tevin. And we mentioned tevin in the second group. The second group was items. It was straw, which is tevin, and the skins of grapes, and the wool, right, like a ball of wool, and also not grass. All these are forbidden to use when they are wet. Right? But because when they're wet, then it adds heat, and you're not allowed to do something that adds heat because a person might come ahead and stoke coals to maintain the heat, right, to keep it hot. So therefore, but you are allowed to use it when it's dry. So you can't use it when it's wet, but you can only use it when it's dry. So Ravada Bar Masna me Abaye. So Ravada Bar Masna asks a question from Abaye. So Muchin Shataman Behen Latalta B'Shabbos. Right? So he said over here, what about these muchin, right? These balls of wool that are used, right? They're used for hatmana. That you went ahead. Now, normally this wool is used to make material, to make clothing, to use afterwards. But it wasn't used for material yet, right, or for clothing yet. It was just there. It was ready to be used. And instead of using for material, he uses it for hatmana, to go ahead and insulate his food. Now, the question is like this. Normally, this stuff is muksa, right? Any merchandise, any stuff that's going to be made, raw materials are muksa because there's no use in Shabbos. Since there's no use in Shabbos, that's something which is muksa. And so therefore, the question is, Mahu Taltam B'Shabbos. Are you allowed to go ahead and be Mataltal Shabbos? Are you allowed to move it in Shabbos? Is it muksa or not? So he answers what? Because he has no straw, right? Straw is another material that's similar to wool in terms of insulating food to keep it warm on Shabbos. So the question is, what? Just because he has no straw, does that mean he just, he says all his wool is hefker? No, of course not. He still cares about his wool, right? In this case, he had to use some wool, but he still cares about the wool, and therefore, since he cares about the wool because he wants to use it after Shabbos, right? It should become muksa, right? It should be forbidden to use.
It would only be muksa though, according to Rabbi Yehuda, not according to Rabbi Shimon.
Right.
Because
yeah.
Because right. Rabbi Shimon holds
you would say
that anything that has a potential use on Shabbos is not in mukta.
Right. So you say over here, Lema Masaile. So let's say his answer was basically no, it's still muksa because it's not hefker, and he wants to use it at some point after Shabbos to go ahead and make it a material. So let's say that we have a proof for him. Right, so it says over there, you gotta do hatmana, right, with strings of wool, right, or different shearings of wool, or strips of argaman, right, strips of like red wool, right, or purple, right, muchin, right, ein metalton osan. And it says over there by muchin, by these like balls of wool, tufts of wool, right. The muchin ein muchin, that's included. So we see that's included. The ein metalton osan. So it says clearly over here, all these materials, including muchin, which we are discussing now, right? This tufts of wool, right? You're allowed to go ahead and do hatmana. You can go ahead and insulate it, but it says it's muksa, ein metalton osan. So clear answer. The Gemara says no. If you want to say this, the Bryce is the proof. Right? No, you can't use this proof. Why? How comes something to say? It means no. If you don't use it for hatmana, then it's muksa. So in other words, if you use it for hatmana, if you're using to insulate it, then since you're using it on Shabbos, therefore it's not muksa. So in other words, he deflects the proof. The Gemara says, if that's the case, what are you telling me? Of course it's muksa, right? Why do you need to tell me that it's muksa? It's material, it's raw materials. Raw materials are not ready for Shabbos, and therefore it's muksa. So Malachim just said chazi lamizgalayo. Maybe over here, the wool, right, or these different material, right, the shorn wool, whatever it is, are something which is fit to basically go ahead and sit upon or lie upon and use it for your own comfort. So Kamash Malan, that no, they're not used for comfort, rather they're used for making into clothing and to other products, and therefore it's considered to be raw material, and therefore would be considered to be muksa according to this brisa. Fine. Two dots. Rav Chizda shar lahadure udra lebei sadia b'shabasa. So Rav Chizda permitted to go ahead and return, or lahadure to return to stuff, right? Udra, right? To go ahead and stuff basically muchin, these tufts of wool, right? inside a pillowcase. You're allowed to go ahead and basically go ahead and stuff your pillowcase, right, on Shabbos. Say Rav Chanan Bar Chizda Rav Chizda, so Rav Chanan Bar Chizda asked Rav Chizda, so matir and beis hatzar b'Shabbos about loy peskin. One is allowed to go ahead and untie the hole for the neck, right? Basically loosen it if it was sort of tied before. You're allowed to loosen it on Shabbos. However, loy paiskin, you can't go ahead and make a new hole for the head, right? I guess they would, wear some sort of cloth over them and then basically make a hole in the middle to sort of, to fit your head through to make it more like a shirt to wear on top. So you're not allowed to go ahead and make the hole on Shabbos because that's a case of masakin kli. You're making a kli. It's a makam patish. It's sort of the final move to make these kalim, to make these utensils, which you're not allowed to make on Shabbos. But if there was already a hole there, then you're allowed to go ahead and untie that which was there before. So the a niceness and muchin loisacha karv loisacha kesses, and you can't go ahead and put muchin the wool we've been talking about not inside pillows or mattresses. So you see clear this over here forbids going ahead putting muchin inside pillowcases. And before we had it was actually this one here says usher. Before we said it was mutter. B'yantav, and this is forbidden not to be on yantav. And certainly don't have to tell me it's usher on Shabbos because it's already usher on yantav. So Gemara says no, like kash, it's not a contradiction. Ha b'chadasi, ha b'atiki. In case of old one and new one, if it's an old one and it was already there, so then you're not finishing this utensil because it was already finished before and it just came out. So you got to go ahead and replace it and put it back. However, when it comes to making a kli for the first time, then that would be forbidden because that would be a case of being masakin mana, right? Making a kli, and that would be a problem of makam pratish. Fine. And that what you said there, and we said b'yantif because you have the chadasi, and right. So Tanya Mahaki, someone learned a niceness muchin loy b'socha karv loy b'socha kesses b'yantif ain't tzarich l'mar b'Shabbos. Right, you're not allowed to go ahead and put wool into your pillowcase and or your mattresses, not on yantif, and certainly you don't have to tell me you can't do it on Shabbos. However, nashuv, if it falls out, then machzirnos, and then you're allowed to go ahead and put it back on Shabbos. You're allowed to put it back on Shabbos. You don't have to tell me yantif because if it's mutter on Shabbos, then certainly it's mutter on yantif. Fine. 3 lines from the bottom. Omer Rav Yehuda, Omer Rav Haposeach Beis Hatzar b'Shabbos Chayv Chatas. One who goes ahead and makes a hole that we discussed. You have a garment, you make a hole for the first time, a neck hole in order to put one's head in it. Now he's basically finished making the shirt, and now it becomes a shirt once it has a hole for the neck. And therefore, it's like you're making a utensil, you're making a garment, and therefore you're chayv for making the final blow. And then there's malacha, right? Makav patish, right? As Rashi says, right? So Rav Kahana asks Kasha, how could you tell me you're chayiv chatas? So ma beinzu l'meguvas chavis. What is this between that and opening a barrel? You have a barrel, let's say, of liquid, of wine, of something. You're allowed to go ahead and remove the top of the barrel, right? You remove the top of the barrel, but over here you can't make the hole for the shirt. What's the difference? So So it's a very distinction, and this is actually a big, a big line when it comes to even halacha nowadays, is that in the case of the barrel, so it already was a barrel, and then you just went ahead and sealed the cover on top. So it was really always 2 pieces. So if it's always 2 pieces, then it's not really an issue of separating the 2 pieces. But in the case of the shirt, since it was sewn together, and by you tearing it open, you've created something new. Right, that is a problem of that is being a problem of opening up, and therefore, since you're creating, therefore, you can't go ahead and create to do something new for Shabbos, right? This is something that comes down, when it comes to opening wine bottles or grape juice or other cases on Shabbos, because sometimes you make a cap when it wasn't sealed on it, and now you create a new entity. But if it was something that was basically, just connected before, it wasn't one piece, then that would be less of an issue, as we see in this Gemara. Fine.
Yeah.
So
right, we hold that there's no binyan by Kalim.
The malacha was not bona. The malacha was makav patish.
Pocket. Right.
Patish. No. But that does apply to kalim. You can't finish a keli on Shabbos, right? Right.
Right. But the keli was already finished. It's in 2 parts.
So if it was in 2 parts, that's why we said you're untied. That would be mutter, right? But if you do something for the first time, then doing for the first time would be the malacha.
That's why you're allowed to open up a pop bottle
There's a
It's
machlokas.
two parts.
Machlokas, right?
No. What about if it's?
What is it, Yigal?
What about if like the cover of the bottle is one piece and you have to tear it?
Right. So that would be an issue here.
That's not. That's what Eddie says. It's like.
If it's right, so
It's
many
meant to be
Ashkenaz, I mean, when it comes to, let's say, grape juice bottles, so the tin covers, are actually connected before, and when you tear it off, you're doing it for the first time. There are many people who don't open the tin covers. Some may poke a hole in it first and then open up. So that's one thing. And the others say that the plastic bottles that we use, they're already separated. The caps are really not part of the other part, and therefore, by taking it off, you're not creating something new. So many people permit the opening of our plastic pop bottles. Some even to come to a can, right? You open a can, perhaps you're making a new opening. Is that a moch or not? So machlokas in different cases, obviously you have to go.
You partially prepare it. Okay.
Right, fine, very good. 2 lines from the top. So Romila Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zera, Rabbi Yirmiyah Sakash Rabbi Zera. So Tran, it says in the Mishnah, Shalosh Shekub Sim Shashal Shamaftechas V'Hab Beged Shu Tafur B'Kiloi. So if you have a case of basically the laundromat, right? They didn't just take your bag and maybe put like a tag or your number on it, right? What they would do is they would tie your clothes together, take like a string and tie your clothes together so they remain connected. So they wouldn't get lost, or they'd stay together. Or let's say you have keys that are attached to one another, like a circle of keys, or you have something that was sewn with connecting 2 different garments. Right? Even it was kilayim, it was wool, it was connected with a linen string, which is not an issue. Just connecting them, not necessarily using afterwards. So chibur latuma. It connects it for tuma. In other words, if one of them gets tamei, then it's like you touch all of them. It's like one large beged. So your 3 shirts that are tied together by a string, if one shirt becomes tamei, right, makes contact, let's say, with the sheretz, right, and then so they all become tamei. Ad sheyatchil lahater, until you begin to go ahead and untie it and disconnect it, the shirts. Alma, what do you see from here? Shelo b'shas malacha nami chibur. We see that even while it's not being laundered, even afterwards, right? It's still considered to be connected. And after the laundry was done, the guy's not picking it up for a week. It's still considered to be connected when it comes to tumah. It says, if you have go ahead like a staff and you make it a handle for an axe, it's considered to be one item, b'shas malacha. Right. In other words, the axe the handle is included. This handle, the staff, the stick that you made the head and you attach to this axe, right? That is not connected. If the head of the axe becomes tamei, so the handle along with it becomes tamei, even though it's 2 separate parts. But that's only, it says b'shas malacha. So it says b'shas malacha in. It's only during the time of work, b'shas malacha lo. But if it's not being used, all of a sudden you put it down and then it becomes tamei, it would not become tamei. So what's the difference? Why in the case of the shirts do we say that it's all considered connected even after the laundry was done, but only until you untie it? But when it comes to the axe, even if the handle was not removed, but the malacha is not being done anymore, or if the guy's not chopping wood, then it's not considered to be attached. Over there in the case of the handle, so it's a piece of wood, a stick of wood that he was using as a stick. So that is not something permanent, and therefore that is not something that's normally used. And therefore, the moment he's done chopping the wood, he wants to go ahead and then use the wood for other things. Let's say use it for scrap wood or something like that, and put it in the pile. So therefore, since the person wants to go ahead and remove it and put it back with his wood, so therefore it's like it's not connected after the chopping was done. However, but in the case of the clothing, shelo b'shas malacha, even after the laundry was done, nami nichale, it is still good for the guy to have the shirts connected. Why? Because even if it becomes dirty again, right? So it gets dirty when it's waiting for the owner, he can go ahead and wash it again with them still being connected. So therefore, it still benefits him to be connected. So therefore, he wants it connected. So after the malacha is done, the nafkamita is, in the case of laundry, he still wants it to be tied together until a person literally puts on the clothes, right? But in the case of the wood, then the person doesn't want really the stick to be, the handle of the axe, and therefore that's removed afterwards. And that's why only dafka b'shas malacha, it's tami both, but not during shas, shelo b'shas malacha, it would be tahor. It would be considered to be disconnected. So Basura, Masnu lo laha shmaitza mishmei Rav Chizda, Basura, they said the following limud that we're going to say in the name of Rav Chizda, Pumbedisa, in the town of Pumbedisa, Masnu mishmei Rav Kana, they say in the name of Rav Kana, and some say it's mishmei Rav in the name of Rav. So Man Tana HaMilsa, who is the Tana, the author of this? The Amar Rabbanan, Kol HaMechubar Loi Harehu Kamo. Anything that is attached to it is like it itself. Right? Now, something that's attached to something else, it's connected, like the case of the shirts. So I'm Rabbi Huda, Amar Rabbi Meir. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. The Tanah we learn in the Mishnah, Beis HaPach, Beis HaTavlin, and Beis HaNer. If you have, let's say, a small vessel, right? These little vessels that you either put spice in, or oil, or light, and you attach it to the inside. You attach it to the kira. Okay, you attach it to your stove. All right, because you also wanted to use the heat from there, either to the spices or the oil, whatever it is, you want to heat it up. All right, now metamin b'maga, the ein metamin be'avir. Divrei Meir says Rabbi Meir. We're going to see a sheet. The Rabbi Meir sheet is like this: if the oven becomes tamei through tumas maga, okay, so if it becomes tamei through touching the oven, it came in contact with something which is a kli cheres, then you have a picture there. I can't really see so well, lady. All right. So, so if you have over there that it comes and makes contact with the oven or with the stove, right? Or right, if inside the kira, so then it doesn't necessarily. Excuse me, if it makes a contact, then it makes tame also this little base of pach or base of tavlin or base of air, right? This little utensil. In other words, they're considered to be connected. When it comes to maga, when it comes to if one of them became tame through touching, then since they're connected, it's like they're both tame. However, ba'avir, right? There's a special halacha by a tanur, right, in the kli cheres, that if something is inside the airspace, even if it doesn't make contact with the walls, if it's within the airspace, let's say that shares in the airspace, it's matame. However, if the oven becomes tame through tumas avir, right, through the airspace, because let's say sheretz is in there, it would not become tame. The other utensil doesn't become tame, only the stove becomes tame, or whatever, the oven becomes tame, and not the little utensil. It's not considered to be connected. So it's connected when it comes to contact, but it's not considered to be connected if the source of tuma was through tumas avir. That was the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Shimon says matahir. No, they're not connected, right? If one becomes tame, the other one does not become tame. They're not considered to be one. So Bishlam, the Rabbi Shimon, Kasavar Lav, I understand why Rabbi Shimon holds it's not considered to be connected. Therefore, this base of pach, whatever it is not considered to be part of the kira. El Rabbi Meir, I understand Rabbi Meir shita ika kira dama. If it's considered connected, afilu avir nami the tama. Then even if it becomes the tanner becomes tame through avir, then this other kli should become tame even also through avir. And ilak kira dami. And if you hold this considered to be two separate items, then afilu b'maga nami lo the tame. Then if it's not connected, then why is it tame the other way? So the answer is really, you're right. It's not considered to be connected. And the kira and the other utensil are two separate things. One becomes tummy, the other one does not necessarily become tummy. However, Rabbanan who the gazerbu, the Rabbanan were geyser, and they're more machmer. They say, you know what? We're going to be machmer, and if it touches one, then the others become tummy. So Gemara says, if you're geyser in the case of maga, right? If it comes in contact, physical contact with the kira, then the kli is also tame. So afilu ba'avir nami. Why didn't you say if something's in the airspace of the tanur, of the stove, or the oven, right? Then the other kli should also become tame. Why you only make gzera in one case and not the other case? So So the Rabbanan make a difference, and oftentimes when they do it by Tuma de Rabbanan, right? The issue is, why can't you always be machmer, right? Chumras are good, right? You be machmer. If we don't know, we say it's tameh, right? What's the big deal? So there is a big deal. Why? Because when it comes to truma and kachim, so truma and kachim have to, if they become tameh, they're supposed to be destroyed. It's supposed to be burnt. But if it's tahor, it's usher to burn it. So you got to be very careful. You can't go ahead and burn something which you think might be tameh. Okay, I'll go with chumrah, I'll burn it. No, it's not like burning chametz, right? You can't. There's an isser of burning it, right? You're not allowed to go ahead and burn it. So therefore, we want people to recognize if we say it's only metame through maga and not avir, people will recognize that, wait, this is not the normal D'oraisa halachas. If it's not normal D'oraisa halachas, then I know it's only Tuma D'Rabbanan. And therefore, if it's Matame, Truma, or Kachim, you don't go ahead and burn it. So in other words, they make it different. They don't have the full-fledged Gezerah, because people might assume that it's Tuma D'Oraisa. So since we want people to realize it's only Tuma D'Rabbanan, therefore we differentiate. So Tana Rabbanan. So rabbis thought...
Is that because it's really not part of the kira itself?
Right. He says really lafka kira dam. It's not part of the kira. It's only gzeira. But we're geyser only the case of maga. We're not geyser in the case of avir, in order for people to recognize that it's not tumah d'oraisa.
It's two pieces.
Right, and it's tumah d'oraisa. It's only tumah d'rabbanan. So Tana Rabbanan means parish al prak, and let's say we have a scissors made of two parts. Right, the scissors I guess attach, and then they're used for zemel shel riyatani, or you have a plate or that's used by a carpenter. And they use it. It's made of metal, and I guess it has like a handle, and it's two different parts. So chibur letuma vein chibur lehaza. So when it comes to tuma, right? When it comes to tuma, thank you for the picture, right? When it comes to tuma, then they're considered to be attached. Chibur letuma, they're attached, and those one part becomes tummy, the whole thing becomes tummy. The other part, but However, when you go ahead and do hazah, right, you have to go ahead and be matayir it, right? When you go ahead and you matayir it, you have to do each one separately, right? It's not considered to be one. Now, Manashach says, understand. If it's considered to be connected, then it should be connected to be matayir for the sprinkling. And if it's not considered to be connected, then it shouldn't be connected when it comes for tuma. If one becomes tummy, the other one's not tummy. So which one is it, right? If it has to be, you have to be consistent. Is it like one item or two items? You can't say, well, it's considered to be one item to be tummy, but two items when it comes for being matayir, right? Doesn't make sense. So Amarabba, really, davar tar b'shas malacha chibur bein latu bein azah. Really, while it's in use, then it becomes tameh. It's considered to be one, whether it's to be matameyet or to be mataheret. And v'shalosh shlas malacha, and when it's not being used, in other words, when it's just sitting on the table in a chibur, it's not considered to be connected because you really don't need them to be connected because they're not being in use. Lo l'tumah lo azah. It's really not considered to be connected for a tumah and azah. However, so why is it that it's always matame, even always matame? Because Rabbanan al tuma shelo b'shas malacha mishum tuma sheb'shas malacha. So there are guys there or tuma. They're machmer. They were guys in the case of tuma for while it's not being used. That if it's something is tame, one of the things, one of the knives, then the other one, since it's connected, is also be tame, even shelo shas malacha and mishum. And for sprinkling, right, Shabashas Malacha, then we also say sprinkling is considered to be two Shabashas Malacha, because we want to say that when it's not being used, you have to do two. So therefore, even when it is being used, right, you have to go ahead and it's considered to be separated. Why? Because it's a gzeir or machmer in that case. Now let's just get down to the Mishnah. It's really quick. It will take another literally 2 minutes. So we say over there when the things, the last list, this is only matame when they're wet, or when they're moist, and not when they are dry. When they're dry, it's okay. It's not moisif hevel, and therefore you can go ahead and use it while they're dry. So Gemara says, that which we say, right, that these that which is wet, is it wet on their own, or is it something else that makes them wet? So the Gemara says, Tashma, come listen. Our Mishnah says, so it says not with straw or the skins of grapes, and not with these tufts of wool, and now with grass, when they're wet, right? You can't use it when they're wet. Now, if you say maybe they got wet from another location, or that shapi, that works well. But if you say that they're wet on their own, how do you have wool, right, that's wet on its own? I understand grass, right? The grass is wet, or from the ground, right? Or the grapes itself, the grape seeds, or even the straw goes to the ground. But how do you have wool? So the word says no. Right? You have right the wool, right? That's between its thighs of the animal. I guess that's from sweat and moisture, right? That wool, I guess, remains moist. So it could be that it's still wet. even from when it came off the animals. So the Gemara says, what we talk about clothing, right? Yavesha is dry, with payros yavesha, and fruits that are dry, you can go ahead and do insulation with that. But you can't go ahead and use clothing that was wet or fruits that were wet. So how do you have clothes that become wet on their own? Obviously, that would became wet came from another source. So where it says no, once again, I guess the wool was so moist from the sweat of the animal that even after it was made into clothing, it still has, it's still like a wet wool, and therefore it would be moisif hevel, and you would not be able to use it for hatzmana. And we'll stop here at the Mishnah. Everyone have a lovely day.
Shkach.
Yeah.
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 Shkach.
For